Guys, it's Karen, and I thought I would do a grooming haul because I think that this will be useful. Of course, it will be useful to groomers or anybody that's new to grooming and starting up their own business, and I think it's a very popular area at the moment. But I also think that this will be a useful one to dog owners that want to groom their dog at home or that do groom their dog at home already, because a lot of this is about washing, drying. Some of it is expensive and some of it is not expensive. Some of it is just stuff that you might consider buying anyway, and there's a lot of kind of basic tools here, and I will briefly talk about the table and the bath that I use as well, but obviously I'm not going to show you that. So let me start by talking about, let's try and go through the grooming process. So the grooming process for a dog, actually a lot of people ask me why it takes so long, and I'm going to use a Labradoodle as an example. And the reason it takes so long is you have to brush them first. The first thing you do is brush them because you have to get mats out. And the reason you have to brush them first is because if you bath them and then they get wet and then you dry them, it will make the mats worse. In some cases, other times a little bit of conditioner will help it, but most times it will make it worse. So you need to brush them first. You then need to wash them, you then need to blow dry them, and you then clip them. If you try to clip them after you've brushed them, the clippers won't go smoothly because the hair is dirty, so it's better to have clean hair to use your clippers. So if we start with brushing, I said that and I didn't have any of my brushes through here. The ones that I've been using, brushes are an area where I feel like I could definitely improve. I definitely need to increase the amount of brushes I've got and maybe find the right one. I've got the right scissors, the right clippers, the right mat breakers, that kind of thing, after a little bit of experience with the wrong ones. But with this, I think I need more. But this is what I use some of the time. This is a slicker brush. But I found this one to be too big, so I've just bought this one, which is actually for kittens. But I just like the size of the head because I'm using this on legs when I'm doing scissoring. So I'm sort of brushing it up, scissoring, brushing it up again, scissoring, that kind of thing. And so that's really good. I'm going to have a look on Christies Direct today because I've bought all of this stuff from either Amazon or from Christies Direct. Christies Direct do pretty much everything, and I think that's a great place for you to start if you are looking for some good grooming equipment. The other thing is combs, and this comb was included in that kitten kit, and the reason I wanted a really fine tooth comb like that was to try and pick out the mats before doing anything else. But I think my mat splitters might work well for that, and this comb has been really, really good because, you know, it's got a wide tooth end for if it is matted, you can comb through and then you can switch over and use the fine tooth comb end as well. But what I'm going to do is have a look on Christies Direct today, and I might order myself a new brush. And whatever I find, I'll link for you below because I'm pretty sure it'll be good. So you've brushed through. If you've got any mats, something I would recommend is the Wahl, now what is it called? I think it's called a detangler, something like that, and it's really good. So I've decanted some in this bottle, and you can see it was up to the top. I've used all of that. I spray that on when I'm trying to get rid of mats in the first kind of brush through. So you've brushed them through, then you want to wash them. I use the Groom Professional shampoo that is the baby scent, and it is amazing, and I've done a whole video on that that I'll link here for you because it's great for sensitive skin. It leaves their coat really soft, it rinses really well, yet it foams really well. You don't need to use very much at all. It's just a wonderful shampoo, 100% my favourite. And the only time I'll use a different shampoo is if I've got like a schnauzer. I'm probably going to use a texturising shampoo, something like that. So I'll link that for you. Then I use a conditioning rinse, and again I'm trialing different ones. I'm using the coat repair one by Groom Professional at the moment, and that does make the coat lovely and soft, and not too soft that you can't style it or anything like that, or that it's too fluffy. Then obviously after you've washed them, you want to dry them, and this is where this has come in and been a lifesaver for me, and I would highly recommend to any of you. It is called an Aqua sorb towel. Now you try and keep it damp, and that's why it's still in the container, but I've used this every single time I've washed one of my dogs. I'm keeping it to use today. Oh, actually smells lovely because it smells of that lovely shampoo. I'm going to use it on the dog I'm grooming this afternoon, and then I'm going to give it a wash. But It's just amazing. It's amazing because it takes so much water out, and you almost, like, I get the towel and just put it over them and sort of press it, and instantly it's drawn so much water out, and then you wring it out at the other end of the bath and then use it again, wring it out, use it again. So it's meant that for the last couple of grooms I haven't gone through 4 towels, because that's how many it takes for a Labradoodle. I've just used that one towel. Actually no, to be fair, I have used another towel when they got out of the bath just to test and see, well, is there anything left? And I've really used like a microfiber towel to check, is there anything left on their feet? But it's been almost dry when I've used it, so that has been enough. So if you are a groomer or you have a dog that you wash at home, I would highly recommend getting one of these Aqua sorb towels. I have seen them in Pets at Home before and sort of thought, oh no, that I don't like the feel of that, I didn't think it would work. You know, those things that you're just cynical about. But it definitely works, and this will save me as a groomer having to wash lots of towels, having to dry lots of towels, having to clear up lots of towels. I can literally just use this and wring it out, and it's very, very soft on them as well, so it's, you know, a nice towel to use on them. Once you've dried them with a towel, you want to blow dry them, and I've got a blow dryer. In fact, I got it from Christies direct, and I do really like it, but I just think there isn't a dryer out there that is powerful enough to dry them in any less time than, what am I trying to say? I think the faster dryer you get, the more noisy it's going to be, and so I'm happy with the one I've got at the moment, but I think maybe in the future I wouldn't mind having something like a stand dryer that I could maybe use a brush whilst I do try to use a brush. Like, I'll get this brush and have the hose and be using it, but I don't know, it's okay for me. I'm not in love with my dryer, I suppose is what I'm saying, but it is very, very functional, and it is much, much faster than using a hairdryer, and I use a Happy Hoodie with them when I use the blow dryer. So I will link to that blow dryer that I use, and I'll put a picture in for you so you can see it. But in the future I may try and, like I said, invest in maybe a stand dryer or something that is just hands-free, you know, if it is as powerful as the one I'm using, and if there's something that's quieter. I don't know an awful lot about dryers. In fact, if anybody's got any recommendations, then please let me know. A Labradoodle, it takes about 40 minutes to dry their coat of blow drying, and that is an awfully long time to be blow drying, which is why one of the things I do is I put a robe on them and I let them run around for a while, and that, especially if it's a nice day, that takes a lot of the moisture out, and it cuts down the drying time a lot. But when I took Watson for a swimming lesson, I was told about another product, and I've since ordered it from Christies Direct, and this is the Fast Dry Spray, and this is to cut down on the blow dry time. This is brilliant. You need this. Again, if you have got any kind of dog with a thick curly coat, or a coat that takes a long time to dry, or you're a groomer, then I would recommend this 100%. So it's called a Fast Dry Spray. It smells a little bit fruity. It says dramatically reduces drying time. I think it says it reduces it by 50% or something. I haven't specifically timed it because I've been doing different dogs since then, and so I wouldn't have known how long their coat would take, because the thing with Labradoodles is that their coats are all very, very different. Some are tighter curls, some are looser waves, you know, but it definitely feels like it's reducing the dry time. And I actually sprayed it on my own hair last time I blow dried it, because I have got a lot of those blow dry your hair faster type things, and I feel like it did help with the blow dry time of my own hair. So that's going to be my friend, I'm sure, over the next little while. So that's the blow dry done. Oh, I should say, actually, what I should have done is talk about this first. No, actually, this would be the next logical step. This is my uniform, if you like, and this would be what I put on once I start cutting. So it's just a top, but again, I got this from Christies, and it's brilliant. It's so comfortable. It's by Groom Professional. It's got 2 pockets here. It's got the split in the side, which means that, you know, you can move around, and it's really, really comfortable. It doesn't make me too hot, and it doesn't, there's no hairs on it at all, and I have not washed this yet, but you can see there is not a single hair on it, and yet I've done 3 grooms with this on now since it arrived last week, and I just wouldn't be without it. I absolutely love it, so would highly recommend you get yourself one of those if you end up with hairs all over your clothes. It's really quite hard to wash the hairs off. You would think just chucking it in the wash would do it, but it doesn't, so that is a brilliant thing to have. Okay, so now they're dry, you're going to comb through, and I didn't talk about mat splitters actually, and I probably should have done, because you should have got rid of the mats at first, but say you haven't and now you're going to start working on mats. I've got these 2 mat combs, and I haven't I only used these two last night on Watson to see what they were like on his fur, and he doesn't really have any mats because I comb him so much. But I've got a feeling that this one here, and I got this, I think I got this from Amazon, I've got a feeling that this one here will be the best one just because it's the smallest, and I always find smaller items easier to use rather than big cumbersome ones, which is, see, when I was talking about this brush, I just find that too cumbersome, whereas the little one, I don't know why, I just find that easier to use, and I think I'll enjoy this one. However, this one is quite interesting because it's got the same blades. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 blades. This one's got more, but then in between it, it's got these little sort of extra teeth, and I believe that this has got great reviews. I think this has got good reviews as well, but I think this might just be a little bit better to use, a little bit. If you've got a really bad mat, this one might work it out a bit quicker. So I will try these two, and if you would like me to do a favourites video, then I will, although this is pretty much my favourites, to be fair. It's a sort of favourites, isn't it? I've bought so much stuff, obviously, since starting up this grooming business over the last couple of months, that I'm learning what my favourites are. All of the mats out and you're ready to do the clipping. The clipper that I've been using is I've gone with Andis all the way, and this one is the Super AGR Plus cordless. I started off by buying an Andis clipper, but it was a plugged in one. Because everything I was told about clippers, or everything I read in reviews, etc., was that it was better to buy a plug-in one. And when I was watching videos of groomers that were on YouTube, they seemed to have a plug-in one. Not many people had the cordless one, and so I bought the corded one by Andis, and it's a great clipper. But I did find I always had to be near, you know, the right socket or have an extension, and I did find that it was getting in the way. And I thought, you know what, I think it's because I'm a beginner. You know, maybe when you get more advanced, it doesn't get in your way, but it was getting in my way, and I said I need a cordless one. So I ordered this one, and I have not looked back since. It's actually all dirty in there. I absolutely love this, and I haven't used the corded one since. I'm keeping the corded one because I think it's good to have a backup, because obviously if ever the battery did run out and I'd forgotten to charge the spare one, or you know, whatever, or this broke, then at least I've got a spare good pair of clippers. But it's just so much easier to use this, so much easier. And the battery, this is the battery, and I think I got this from Christies. I'm not 100% sure, either Christies or Amazon, but I will link it for you. That's the battery there, and so it's just so easy to clip out and clip back in again. That's what it sounds like on. I don't know what that little red button is there. There's a little red button on it there. I need to investigate what that is. But and I've got a 10 blade on it, but this has just been really, really good, and I would highly recommend it. You get a spare battery with it, and the way you charge it is just by putting it in a little charging case. And so I haven't actually even used a spare battery because this has lasted the whole groom, and then I just put it back on the stand and it charges up and I'm ready to go again. So if you are looking for a really good clipper, either for being a startup groomer or just for home, then I would highly recommend this. And it's not a cheap one. I can't remember the exact price, probably 150, something like that. Then the other thing that I've been using a lot is this, and I've not been using it for what I thought I would. It's the Wahl bravmini, it's called. I wish I knew what length this cut to. I can't find out anywhere what length this cuts to, but I started off wanting this for clearing the pads, but I used it on Watson, and his skin is very, very sensitive to any kind of blade. Like even if I've not used a 10 blade on him, but I used a 7 blade, which is not very close to blade. I used that underneath him and it makes his skin a little bit red, and I did it very light-handedly. And when I used this, I noticed he was sort of red in between his paws. And I know that their paw pads, some of them can be more deep in between than others, and I just wasn't comfortable using this, so I actually just used baby scissors, you know, face scissors, to cut in between their pads. I just feel much safer with that. But what I do use this for is with doodles, I sort of just shave a little bit between their eyes, well, sort of up to their eyes, and from their muzzle up to their eyes, and it just really opens up their face. And I do it lightly, so you're not taking off all of the hair. And this, again, it's a rechargeable, you put it on a little stand, and yeah, it's been really, really useful. I couldn't live without that, and I keep thinking, well, what am I going to do if that breaks? How would I do that area? And I think I'd have to use this, or I've got an attachment, I've got a blade that is I think it's called a toe blade, that is a very thin one, but you've still got the big awkward shaver and just the small head. So it would be usable, but I do much prefer this, and I would replace it if it broke. So that's the clipping. And then obviously while you're doing that, you are needing scissors. And scissors, it's taken me quite a few pairs of scissors to find the right scissors for me. And I would recommend trying some cheap scissors first, try some straight scissors, try some curved scissors, and find out what you're comfortable with. What is on the Christies Direct site is they list the scissors as in levels 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And that gives you an idea of what level they are, if they're for professionals or how long they're going to last, that kind of thing. I knew pretty quickly that I wanted a curved pair of scissors, because a curved pair of scissors gives a more natural finish, especially if you're inexperienced. So as a new groomer, I didn't want anything too blunt, and with it being a little bit curved, that gives me a little bit of leeway. So I got a pair from Amazon, which were very good. They were Japanese ones, but they were inexpensive, as in they were about £20, and they are blunt already, and I've groomed probably between 10 and 15 dogs, something like that, and they're blunt already, so that wasn't any good for me. And so I've ordered some new ones, and these are the ones that I've ordered. I haven't actually used them. I tried them out on Watson briefly, and they're not as curved as I would like. They're only ever so slightly curved, but these, they just feel so comfortable. These you know, the finger inserts don't feel like they're going to fall out as they have done on other scissors. They feel sharp, but not like, I got a pair of these. These are the Master Clip, and these are the Bullnose ones, so they've got the safety ends, but I got a pair of these in the curved as well, and they're clipped too bluntly. So doing scissoring on the legs, it was just looking too blunt, whereas these are fine enough that they just, it's not going to be too blunt. I don't know, I'm probably not explaining it very well, because obviously I'm a beginner, but I can tell you that these Roseline, they're called, I think these are 7" or 7.5", are very, very comfortable, and I think these would be a really good choice. And then I do also use these Bullnose ones. I use these for, like, when I first brush the legs and brush them up the back, I start off with like cutting the hair, you know, to get most of the hair off. These are really good, not to do the actual shaping of the leg. Then I use 2 pairs of thinners. These are thinners, and these are called chunkers. And the chunkers just take out more than the thinners, but they are a type of thinning shear. You can see they've got a different shape there in the scissor. And I use these if there's just an area where a lot of bulk needs to come off, then these are good. But the thinning shears are really good for, like, around the muzzle, to shape the muzzle, you know, take a little bit off the cheeks to shape it into that. These two are really, really good. And I'm glad I've got both of them. I did think at some point, am I going to use the thinning shears? I was using the chunkers on the muzzle, but these definitely make a softer look. Something else to show you is this. These are my blades. I haven't got many blades at the moment. I've got a spare 10 blade. The 3 3/4, I've used this one, that's a 1/2 inch. And I can either use a clipper attachment, so I've got the Andis clipper attachments, or I can just use a 1/2 inch blade. And then I've got 4 and 5, which I haven't used, but I may do, as I've got different types of dogs coming over the next couple of weeks. And then the 7 blade, I use that for the hygiene areas, if you like, because like I said, I don't like using the 10 blade. But this wallet has been fantastic for holding the blades in, because they come in a little plastic packet, and it just was too bulky, so to have them all in here like that has been really handy. So love that packet. So the only things left would be to clean their ears, and again, I'm not doing it in the right order, so please forgive me. I know that this isn't it isn't flowing as well as it should, but that's probably due to my inexperience. But I would clip their nails and clean their ears and take out the ear hair before I bath them, because you'd want to wash away any residue wax that was around, not around the ear, because you don't specifically wash the ear, but like any surrounding hair and any powder that you've got anywhere. Because to pluck their ears, I'd just put some ear powder in each side and then use my fingers. Ear powder I think you can get from anywhere, so I don't have a preference for ear powder. But for nails, I 100% do, because these have been amazing, and I just bought these from Christies Direct. They are, the ones I had before were like, they were like what you see in a human nail salon, the kind of guillotine ones. And I have just found, I know that I learned in my diploma course, I'm one assessment away, by the way, of getting my diploma, and I've got all A's so far. I'm dead chuffed with myself, and I've just got one more assessment to do. But I did learn that groomers make, I can't think of the word, the nails bleed all the time, and that is part of the job, and that this will happen, and the best thing is to have this emergency stock powder and just, you know, be aware of it, and especially with dark dogs because you can't see where their quick is. And I've been given lots of different tips. I've read that you can see the groove of their nail, and that as long as you don't cut past the groove, then you won't make them bleed. Somebody had told me, in fact, I think it was my dad, that you could shine a torch through and you could see it. I've tried all of these ways and there really isn't any way of seeing it. I've asked owners if they want their nails clipped and they've said yes, and I've told them there is the danger that they will bleed. And it's happened now on about 3 of the, like I said, 10 to 15 dogs that I did. And I think that a lot of it is because when you're holding the dog's paw and using the guillotine ones, there's no stop. And so they are moving, no matter how still you think you're holding them, they do move, they are trying to pull their nail, and I think it maybe catches it. But I cut Watson's nails with these and nothing, and they are absolutely brilliant. And I know it's a simple thing, but honestly, this has given me so much more confidence now to clip the nails like I'm doing Dixie this afternoon. The thing about it is it was starting to make me anxious because the first one that it happened to, and thankfully all the owners have been fine and said, oh, they know that happens. But the first one that it happened to ran away from me. I was trying to do them because some places suggest you try to hold them and do it because it's more comforting for them, but clearly it wasn't for this little dog, and he ran away. He was running all over the carpet, there was blood going everywhere, which was panicking me that I couldn't stop the blood because I couldn't get a hold of him, and when I could he was pulling his foot away, and it was not a good experience, and so it's made me anxious, and that's no good because when you're doing anything to a dog, you don't want to pass on your anxiety, and if you are anxious, they will be able to tell from your body language, from how your hand feels. Oh my God, my neighbour's just come out with barely any clothes on. That's a bit weird. Oh, it's because one of his dogs threw the ball out. That was a bit odd. But I did 1 foot of Watson, and I was like, this is so much easier because it's got a guard. So you put the guard up, I don't know whether you'll be able to see, and then you can push the nail in and it will only take that much off, no more than that. And it's not a small amount, because that's what bothered me. I thought when I clipped the first one, I thought that's quite a bit, but it's a measured amount. And so if a dog needs its nail clipped and you use this, you shouldn't get to the quick unless they've already had their nails done for some reason and the owner didn't tell you, you know. So anyway, there's a lot of talk about a pair of nail clippers, isn't it? Hey, that is everything to tell you about today. I'm pretty sure I'm missing things. There are things I'm not telling you about. And like I said, I can do another one. I'll do another one of these in a couple of months when I've got a lot more experience grooming. I'll come back and do my favourite grooming items, but I think I'll call this a grooming haul because this is everything I've bought. And I think the biggest thing, these are definitely going to be a favourite, and one of these will be a favourite, the mat splitter. The one that I had was huge, and it was just that I was just too scared to use it because there was blades on either side, and my big thing is I don't want to hurt the dogs, you know. I nearly missed something, and it's the scissor spritzer. This was something I didn't even know existed, but with Labradoodles, Cockapoos, with a lot of dogs, you'll do scissoring on the legs rather than using a clipper. What I tend to do is use a clipper in one size longer than I want the legs to be, and then I will scissor them so there's not too much hair there. And what you do is you brush the hair up, as I was saying, I use this, you brush the hair up and then you scissor over the top of it. But what can happen is the hair can quickly lay flat, but if you use something like a scissor spritzer, it's got the tiniest bit of hold and it just makes it easier to cut the ends. So this is another Groom Professional product that I use, and I have to say I have been impressed with every Groom Professional product I have used, from shampoo, conditioners to that coat was from Groom Professional, to this, to the fast dry spray. I'd really look at them as my first option for anything, and I really enjoy this spray, so I'd recommend this as well. So I'll definitely come back and do my favourites, but I hope that this was useful to you. Let me know if you've got any experience with any of these things, what you think, or if you've got any recommendations for any of us, then please leave them in the comments below. But like I said, I'll make sure I link to everything here for you, and I will speak to you again. Washed and shampooed them, washed and dried them. So the